During my travels in Switzerland, I visited the town of Sion in the French-speaking canton of Valais. In this video, I explore a theory regarding the association of the Order of the Knights Templar with the town of Sion and the founding of Switzerland. I also explore a few historic sites and the symbolism housed within these sites that point to a Templar connection. Sion is the French word for Zion, the Holy Land. There is a twin peaks overlooking the town, meaning New Jerusalem or Holy Place in the Alps. The twin mountains house the Tourbillon Castle and the Valere Basilica. The castle and the basilica date back to the beginning times of Swiss Confederation formation around 1291, a time when the Knights Templar were known to be looking to establish a European mainland stronghold outside of the Holy Land as they were being pushed out of the Eastern Mediterranean by the Muslims. There is a strong association between Templar history and ideals in a particular French dynasty, the Merovingians. Clovis I, the first Christian French monarch, had been born of this Merovingian bloodline, though it had fallen in the 8th century with the murder of Dagobert II and the installation of a new ruling elite. However, it is almost certain that Merovingians, and what they had represented, lay at the heart of Templarism, and the Merovingians had been especially strong in the area we today call Switzerland. As stated previously, Sion is the French word for Zion, meaning Jerusalem or the Holy Land. There is a twin peaks overlooking the town, meaning New Jerusalem or Holy Place in the Alps. Chief amongst the Merovingian strongholds in the Alps had been the town which today is known as Sion, the very name of which shouts Templarism and lives as a testimony to the virtual obsession regarding Zion, Jerusalem, that lay at the heart of the First Crusade. When a mound was excavated in Suffolk, England, it was found to contain the 6th century ritual burial of a ship along with a trove of gold coins belonging to the Merovingian family dynasty. The coins were minted in Sion, Switzerland. The Merovingians had kept their chief mint at Sion, and the place was still somewhat important in the Middle Ages. The Templars will have known it well. As to their actual holdings in the area prior to the Templars' 1307 arrests, the evidence is somewhat blurred, but it is known that there was, eventually, a significant presence of Knights Hospitaller in the region. Since most Templar property was, by papal ruling, passed to the much smaller Hospitallers after 1307, it is highly likely that the Swiss holdings had originally been Templar ones. Alan Butler and Stephen Defoe, in their book titled The Warriors and the Bankers, present an alternative theory to the most common one regarding what happened to the Knights Templar, their wealth, and possibly their fabled treasure after their arrests on Friday, October 13th, 1307, supposed dissolution in 1312, and executions by 1314. Although the authors point out that the theory that the Templar fleet departed La Rochelle on Thursday, October 12th, the day before their arrest began on October 13th, and the mass exodus to Scotland was possible, the authors offer up another theory that makes just as much, if not more, sense. They theorize that the escaping Templars took whatever gold and silver, easily transportable, divvied it up, and made their way eastward to the mountains of Switzerland slowly weeks before October 13th, 1307. Butler and Defoe advise in their book that King Philip IV would have been focusing on the Templar fleet in La Rochelle on the western coast of France, and that the knights were already aware of their coming persecution by Philip IV. The Templars had lost favor with the public after the loss of Jerusalem to the Muslims. The Templars were master bankers, with many monarchs, including Philip IV, being highly in debt to them. The authors theorize that the Templars were forewarned of their impending arrests and would be more likely to send their wealth and treasure towards the forbidding region of the Alps instead of the seaside ports where every local official could view and report the Templars' activities back to Philip IV. Apparently, such reports were never made. It is theorized that Jacques de Molay, the leader of the Templars, had become aware of Philip's plans to rid of the order, so Philip could absolve himself of his debt to the Templars and then take acquisition of the Templars' wealth himself. Jacques de Molay most likely warned the Brotherhood of their impending persecution, giving them time to plan their escape and movement of assets. Molay, according to the authors, was willing to be the sacrificial lamb for the Templars' future survival. The knights made plans for their escape and made their way east with their wealth. Interestingly, this theory corresponds with the founding of the states, or what are known as cantons, in Switzerland. Even the official history of the country of Switzerland is a bit mysterious. The Swiss don't really know the ins and outs of their earliest history, or suggest that they don't. Switzerland shares a border with eastern France and was advantageous for the Templars to flee to. Not only were the Templars big into banking, but also in farming, engineering, and clockmaking of an early type. These same aspects can be seen as importance to the commencement and gradual forming of the separate states, or cantons, that would eventually make up Switzerland. What is even more fascinating to Butler and Defoe's theory is that there are legends of knights dressed in white who helped the Swiss in fighting off foreign invaders. The first 3 cantons, one of which Schwyz, with the iconic Swiss flag as its very own flag, gained independence from the HRE on August 1st, 1291. The Last Crusade ended that same year. The Swiss have the story of Wilhelm Tell, who was an expert marksman, and in myth, the reason for their independence. It is thought that he was possibly a Knights Templar. Also, Frederick Barbarossa was a Templar and was Duke of Swabia, the territory Switzerland was a part of from 1147 to 1190. The flag of Switzerland features a Templar cross in white on a red background, an inversion, or the opposite, of the Knights Templar white tunics with red crosses. Several cantons of Switzerland feature flags with the same motif. The famous Templar cross is incorporated into the flags of many of the Swiss cantons, as are other emblems such as keys and lambs that were particularly important to the Knights Templar. As stated previously, the Knights Templar properties went ad providem per a papal order after the Templars' arrest in 1307 and dissolution in 1312 to the Knights Hospitaller. The full name of the Knights Hospitaller is the Sovereign Military Order of the Knights of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, of Rhodes, and of Malta. Over time, they splintered off into different factions. As the Knights of Malta, their headquarters is in Rome, at the Vatican, and they operate under a Catholic guise. Interestingly, tying in with the country of Switzerland, the protectors of the Pope at the Vatican are the Swiss Guard. As the Knights of St. John, they are based in London, and their official head is the King or Queen, and they operate under a Protestant guise. The Knights of Malta are sovereign. They are considered a country without territories and have diplomatic relations with over 108 states all over the world. They also have their own passports, vehicle registration plates, and postmarks. The Knights of Malta are one of the most powerful organizations in the world, with its members being many of the most powerful and influential people in the world. Individuals who seem to be ideological opposites in the public arena are behind the scenes members of the same brotherhoods. You may not be aware that the Knights of Malta are behind the philanthropic group called the Red Cross. Interestingly, the flag of the Red Cross is the inverted colors of the flag of the Knights of Malta and of the flag of Switzerland. In public, the Red Cross is a humanitarian organization and charity. But what the public is not aware of are the shady activities of the Red Cross. No doubt, there are many good people working in the Red Cross. You can't have total darkness operating without exposure. But when we take the time to look and investigate the top branches of the organization, there are corrupt people doing corrupt things. Hurricane Sandy is a prime example of this corruption. The Red Cross raised over $300 million for the victims of the hurricane, but no one knows where the money went. When confronted on this issue, the Red Cross refused to give any records, arguing the information is a trade secret, and if those details would be disclosed, the Red Cross would suffer competitive harm because its competitors would be able to mimic the Red Cross's business model for an increased competitive advantage. The International Committee of the Red Cross is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. It seems to me that it would come in handy to create a country with secretive banking laws where the elite could do all kinds of shady dealings. Without countries like Switzerland, it would be much more difficult for the elite to hide in the shadows whilst engaging in dark activities. It is well known that the Knights Templar were the bankers of Europe. They basically invented the concepts of international money transfers, safe deposit boxes, checking accounts, and other banking concepts that would not come on the scene again until Italian bankers later replicated their methods. Switzerland is world-renowned for its banking expertise, combined with strict confidentiality. Switzerland is not a member of NATO or the European Union. The Templars were well known to be secretive and independent as well. Now we will take a look at the Tourbillon Castle, located on top of one of the twin peaks overlooking the town of Sion. The castle dates back to the beginning times of Swiss Confederation formation around 1291, the time when the Templars were known to be looking to establish a European mainland stronghold outside of the Holy Land. The walk up to the castle was quite a trek, but well worth the hike up. I passed through the fortification of the western access on my way up to the top. Here we have St. George slaying the dragon with a female in red in the iconography. St. George is venerated by the Knights Templar. Merodach, the creator of the inferior universe, slays a horrible monster, and out of her body forms the universe. Here is the probable source of the so-called Christian allegory of St. George and the dragon. He typifies the higher nature of man overcoming the dragon of his own lower nature. Often St. George slaying the dragon has a female in red or blue in the iconography. The color blue symbolizes purity and the Virgin Mary, while red symbolizes the blood of Christ. Occult and Knights Templar researcher Michael Tessarian has some interesting information regarding St. George and the female in his Female Illuminati series. The symbol of the fleur-de-lis was used in Babylonian, Indian, Egyptian, and Roman architecture. In Egypt, it can be found on hieroglyphics. The ancient Egyptian symbol for plant, meaning tree of life, was 3 sacred lotus lilies. The lotus flower represented life and resurrection. The fleur-de-lis traces its origins from ancient Egyptian art. The tree of life is what the fleur-de-lis represents, and its ancient Egyptian origins can be traced to the story of Osiris, Set, and Isis, the Virgin, and the legend of the tree of life. With the feminine fleur-de-lis being an emblem of the Merovingian dynasty and a symbol of the Knights Templar, we can see a theme of not only a veneration of the feminine, but a connection to the ancient pharaonic. The crowning of Merovingian king Clovis in 481 with the baptismal lily is the symbolic origins of the French monarchs. At the baptism of Clovis, a golden lily flower was given by an angel or even the Virgin Mary. One image that stood out to me in the chapel is that of St. Catherine of Alexandria, also known as Catherine of the Wheel from the story of her martyrdom. St. Catherine is, not surprisingly, venerated by the Knights Templar. I've also seen St. Catherine inside the Templar Chapel in Metz, in France, and in 2 Knights of Malta churches, one in Valletta, Malta, and another in Venice, Italy. Some researchers believe that Catherine is the Christianization of the female pagan philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer Hypatia of Alexandria. The association with the Templars is most likely in association with the Gnostic Cathars and the pagan version of the goddess of the fiery wheel, a symbol of feminine strength and power. Hypatia perished in AD 415, the greatest woman initiate of the ancient world, and with her fell also the Neoplatonic school of Alexandria. The memory of Hypatia has been perpetuated in the worship of saints of the Roman Catholic Church in the person of Saint Catherine of Alexandria. Perched on the other twin peak is the Valere Basilica. The organ in the basilica is the oldest playable organ in the world. It is located on the west wall at the bottom of the basilica. The left coat represents the mystical marriage of Saint Catherine, patron saint of Valere Basilica, the canton of Valais, and one of the female goddesses venerated by the Knights Templar. The right coat reveals an appearance of Christ to Mary Magdalene. Above the organ is a rose window. Most rose windows were dedicated to Mary and situated at the west end, the direction of the feminine. Occult and Knights Templar researcher Michael Tessarian advises that Sion is a common term in Christianity and Judaism, yet few really know to what it refers. It refers to the royal, holy family of Egypt, the 4 principal gods upon which the pharaoh founds his dynasty. The gods are Set, Isis, Osiris, and Nephthys. The first letters of their names make the word Sion, S-I-O-N. The numerology of these letters is 1, 9, 6, 5, same as rose, R-O-S-E, 9, 6, 1, 5, which is why the rose is used often in occult circles and used as a symbol of royalty. Visiting Sion was the highlight of my travels in Switzerland. It was amazing to visit the castle and basilica perched on top of the twin peaks, and the symbols housed within them were a testament to the pattern recognition of Templar-related symbols found in many Templar sites I have visited in my previous travels.